Okay, so hi everyone. Today I have with me Dani Stover. Am I saying your name correctly, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so today I have with me Dani Stover, and she's someone who's been volunteering with the Period Purse for quite a bit. And we're here to talk about menstrual equity and what Dani's experience has been like with the Period Purse, to share a little bit about the story of how the Period Purse is fighting the issue of period poverty here in Canada. And yeah, we're really excited to just jump in and hear from Dani herself. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you like to do in your free time?
Yeah, I guess it depends on when we're talking. I guess like before the pandemic, I love to do improv and performing on stages and stuff like that. Lately, it's been more like solitary things. I love my houseplants. I'm like low key obsessed with them. I also have been playing some disc golf. I've gotten into chess over the past year or so. So I would say those are the things that are kind of, interesting me these days.
Okay, I love that. That's such a
Mhm.
diverse range of interests.
Yeah.
Super cool. Um, yeah, so we're gonna do something a little bit fun and lighthearted to
Mhm.
start off. And I'm just gonna ask you to review some memes. So first, you could just do your regular reaction to it, and
Okay.
then rate it on whether it's relatable and whether it's funny or not. I'm gonna show you two, and then you can also decide which one you like better. Okay, here's the first one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So do you want me my take now?
Yeah, you can just
Okay.
give us your take.
My first thought is that's a lot of blood. So it's kind of a little maybe like trauma inducing for some folks, perhaps. But I do see a lot of these, and I think it is interesting to note. And I've seen memes that kind of address this as well. When it comes to blood, we're used to seeing it in the context of, let's say, your Thursday night hour medical drama, for example, or turning on the news and seeing stuff like that. I think when it comes to period blood, everyone gets a little bit squeamish, more so than if it were, any other kind of blood.
Mm,
So while I think that maybe this is like catches my eye for sure. That's a lot of blood. And it's funny, but I think I think maybe that might give someone the wrong idea of how much blood you can expect, and
mm,
maybe what it's actually like. So, with the period purse, a big part of what we do is education. And what we find is that a lot of people, just aren't comfortable talking about it. So we try to, keep things light, and we try to also keep things educational. And so for this one, I might avoid it just because it's a lot of blood, and also because it might send the wrong message. But I mean, if you've had a period, you've definitely smiled through the pain. So I think it's relatable.
yeah, that's fair. And I appreciate your take on it because I think that like it's important to be aware of our messaging and our audience too. So thanks for that. Okay, there's gonna be one more.
Mhm. Yep, I feel this one, and I think it's very relatable and very, yeah. And I've seen a lot of memes recently with this kind of idea, um, just kind of the idea that you might be feeling a lot of big feelings, or you might be feeling like super hungry or not hungry at all, or not motivated or irritated or jealous, or this whole spectrum of fun and interesting feelings. And then it's like, oh, and then I got my period, and that explains it. So I think this is
Mm,
very relatable, and I think like a lot of folks who menstruate, unfortunately deal with this. It also makes me think of something I saw going around recently. I don't know how new it is, but it was this device that was supposed to mimic period pain. And they were
mm.
putting it on, men, and these men were like doubling over, like writhing in pain because they just couldn't take it. And then they'd attach it to women. And the women were just like, is it on yet? Uh, So I just find that interesting too, of like, literally, I felt that gut punch, those cramps, that heaviness. And I would consider my period quite light. It's manageable. So certainly for people who experience complications with their period and experience like a lot of pain, maybe on top of, dealing with chronic pain. Yes, very relatable and very much that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
Also, something I will say that I love, and I've been sharing it with everybody lately as though I invented it, just the idea that like rest is productive. So even if you are finding yourself in that space where you're like, I want to get so much done, and then, my period arrived and I don't feel motivated, or I just feel like lying down on a pile on the floor, that's okay. And sometimes that's your body telling you that that's what you need to do. So rest is productive. I like that one.
Yeah. It makes me think about, like, I think along a very similar vein of what you're speaking about, how like you don't need to earn your rest, or you don't have to like do anything to deserve rest, but it's just something that you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for those reactions and also the insights. We're really curious, how did you personally become passionate about the issue of period poverty?
For me, it started, I would say, in 2015. There was a group called the Canadian Menstruators at that time in Canada who were, I believe, working with the NDP to remove the tax on period products. And, the federal government taxes a lot of things, but also they don't tax things that are considered essential. And so some of the things on the list that were considered essential were like maraschino cherries and birthday cakes. And yet, for some reason, period products weren't considered to be in that essential realm. And there's a lot of money to be made off of taxes for these items that menstruators need to function. And it's, they are essential. I will, full stop period on that. So there was that kind of happening in Canada at the time. I was working in radio, so I was like all about these kind of things that were, making a splash, moving the dial, and making change. Also, there was a video that came out, I want to say broadly. So like Vice, the umbrella of Vice, had broadly for a few years. And so many of their videos like impacted me in such a way. And I even recently, like as recently as last week, went to try and find this video and could not find it, which makes me think I made it up. I did not. But that video also came into my life around the same time as the Canadian Menstruators and removing the tax. And so I think I was just like, and I hear this from a lot of folks in this space, as soon as you hear about period poverty and the menstrual inequities faced by people around the world and right here in Canada, you can't go back. You can't unlearn it. And I think I just had an aha moment, was like, this is unacceptable. And just from that moment on, kind of made it a part of my fabric to fight for people who menstruate that are experiencing homelessness and marginalization. And through that, and what the Period Purse does, I mentioned before, is the education piece and the advocacy piece. So it's kind of like those three prongs working together. And I really like that about the Period Purse specifically. But I would say it started in 2015 with those two specific things. And at that time I was living in Peterborough, Ontario at the time, and I threw a pad party and I got people to donate products, and I was just like all into it. And then it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey and how it's like a couple of things that come together, and you spoke about the facts too. I think like that's super relevant because some of the statistics that we hear about period poverty, I know there are some from Plan Canada where they share that like 1 in 7 women or people who menstruate have experienced issues with purchasing menstrual products due to like financial constraints in the past. So yeah, it's like really hard to ignore those things. And I'm personally really happy that you were able to take that on and not just like intellectually care about it, but then start doing something about it as well. And so what type of work were you specifically involved with the Period Purse?
So with the Period Purse, I guess my like professional title, although it is on a volunteer basis, is social media coordinator. So basically, we have like someone who does our graphics, and I just kind of I feel like I know everything that's going on with the Period Purse. I read the the website, so lately I've been focusing a lot more on Instagram and kind of nurturing that community there. We've got a lot of really great supporters on our social feeds. So we're on Facebook and Twitter as well, but that's basically my job, is to communicate what's on the site and what we're doing, and, you know, events that are coming up, communicating that with our followers, and now making reels.
Awesome. Yeah, video content is the way to go these days. And with your work so far and with your knowledge of the Period Purse, what has been the response to some of the initiatives that the Period Purse has launched so far?
I mean, it is kind of that notion of like, once people get it in their head that this is a problem that exists, they want to help, they want to do something. So we've got a lot of really great support from people who, you know, who want to even do like at-home packing kits. I will probably touch on this in some capacity, but obviously with the pandemic, we aren't able to kind of gather in person and do these events. So really keeping that connection with the community is important. And yeah, I think the support of the community is just what makes it worthwhile. Obviously, doing the outreach and seeing more people wanting to talk about it is awesome. But yeah, I think we've always had really great support. It's really exciting to see it growing. And I think a big thing, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but something that is really exciting in that, you know, I mentioned like 2015 was the big year where tax was removed in Canada. I feel like it's just snowballing, and I feel like 2021 is a really exciting year for menstrual equity. We just had Menstrual Health Day on May 28th, and just like I'm seeing this trajectory. So I'm seeing people take that thread and run with it. And so I think this is what's kind of happening. I'm seeing a lot more people wanting to know how they can help in their immediate community. And so, yeah, I just remember pitching stories about period poverty, menstrual equity in the past, and getting like I don't think so. People don't want to hear about that. People don't want to talk about that. Now people do. I feel like more people are getting into it. So that's really awesome to see. And so definitely we've had like this group of people from the start. It's growing. So yeah, I'm excited by the growth, and I'm really energized by the people who do support the Period Purse for sure. I hope that answers your question. I think I forgot the question halfway through.
No, it was just, we were just asking the response to the Period Purse. So you completely captured it. That's awesome. How about some of the challenges? Have there been any significant challenges that the Period Purse has faced? And how did you, and I guess the whole community at the Period Purse, how did the community navigate those challenges?
Well, like I mentioned, definitely the pandemic has like exacerbated the issue of period poverty. I think people who were kind of, you know, living in the margins before, or have housing insecure, maybe have precarious work, you know, even just with the pandemic be like the COVID being what it is, you know, people getting sick, like this is just all kind of compounded the issue of period poverty and the lack of menstrual equity. So definitely that's been a challenge. Gathering with people and trying to stay energized and motivated, and like actually putting physical period packs. I have one here, like these are our kits. That's been a bit of a challenge. However, I will say we've got people that are willing to put these together at home, and they'll pick up the stuff or they'll get it dropped off, and they'll be like, great, I'm home anyway. I'm going to get my kids to help, and we'll make 100 period kits for you. And so that has been really nice to see. I will say another big thing, and it's fresh in my brain because, as I mentioned, we just had Menstrual Health Day. And so that's a big awareness day for us. It's like the Christmas for menstruators. And so we get a lot of really awesome support. We get, you know, we wave our flag at town hall, and we've got, you know, the CN Tower lit up in red, Niagara Falls lit up in red. Like, it was a big deal, and it was very exciting, and a lot of hard work went into that kind of flashy stuff. And people call this out of like, oh, why are you taking away from the real issue by lighting up a bridge or whatever? So like what I find is there are people that just kind of refuse to understand. And then when we have big awareness days like this, we've just got so many trolls. And I think it just comes from a lack of like either wanting to understand or a lack of having the information, because it's kind of a taboo subject. It's something that makes people squeamish, makes people uncomfortable. It's not something they necessarily want to talk about. And it's certainly not something that they want to do anything about. So I think that's a challenge. I don't want to really spend too much time on it because it's like kind of gross sometimes, the response we get. I find it even comes from like women sometimes who are just like, I don't want to talk about it. That's gross. Or like, what'll they think of next, scrotum day? And I'm just like, okay, you obviously don't know this is an issue. So my response to that usually is responding with links to our website that explain exactly what menstrual equity is and sharing some of those facts that are, they tell the truth. There are people in this country that have struggle putting food on the table. So imagine if you have trouble putting food on the table for your family, buying period products isn't going to be something that you're necessarily, is at the top of your shopping list. You might use other products that are not healthy, that make you feel like you can't live your life like you would want to. And then there's just, again, that education thing. I think people take for granted that there are open lines of communication for young people who menstruate. And there's a really great film called Pandora's Box. There are some screenings taking place. Like if you're interested in this, I implore people to go search out this documentary because it's eye-opening. And there are women that are like, I started bleeding and I thought I had cancer. They didn't even know that their periods were tied into their reproductive system. So there's big gaping holes all over. And I find when people are just like making jokes or like, what's next, ball sack day? It's like, that's the kind of stuff that like, just like, you got to laugh, but at the same time, it's like, thankfully, this is only one day that we really have to deal with this. But those are kind of the challenges, I guess, that we face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my mini rant.
Yeah, I think like thankfully for us in our organization, like we haven't really been on the receiving end of any of like some of the backlash that I guess you and the community have experienced. But I can definitely relate to what you shared about with the person or with people who have said that they thought they had some sort of illness when they first got their period, because that was my experience. Like I went through the Canadian health education system, thought I was prepared. And then when I actually got my first period, I was on the toilet crying. I had to call my mom because I thought I was dying.
Yeah. It's scary. And when I heard that, I was like, of course that there's just this big gap between learning about our bodies and celebrating our bodies. Obviously, menstruation is the reason why all of us are here. I don't know why it's treated with such like kid gloves, to the point where it's a health issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So this is kind of shifting gears to more of a big picture view, but what is your vision for period equity and the whole movement around period equity in one sentence?
Free period products for everyone who needs them.
Well put.
I think that's really it.
Yeah.
And even a choice of products, like, obviously we provide a lot of tampons and pads. But yeah, there are some wonderful reusable items. Obviously, like we're conscious about the waste that is produced. So again, that's an education piece, that's a cost piece. So yeah, free products. And I'd open that up to like, you can have whatever you want. They're just available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Do you personally have any period life hacks or tips that you've used?
I'm pretty boring. I'm pretty boring, and I have a challenge for myself this year is to start using a cup. A few of the people that work on the period purse, and I've heard this from a lot of people, is that, the cup is life-changing. It is one of those things that is over time, like more cost effective and better for the environment than tampons and pads. So yeah, I'm pretty boring when it comes to what I use. Like I try to use like the little Obi ones, like the tiny ones with no applicator. I have some period underwear, but at the end of the day, aren't they all period underwear? And so that's kind of what I use. Although my challenge is to try a cup this year. And one little tip that I will share that's not even my own original tip. There's Period Nirvana, who's on Instagram for sure. And she makes all kinds of content about cups, and it's awesome. She works so hard. But taking a whisk, because you do need to boil your cup before you use it to sanitize it, or in between uses as well, and using a whisk and just like a boiling cup of water. So you don't have to do the whole pot in the kitchen, boiling your cup, like just doing it that way. Because that honestly is one part that's stopping me from using the cup, is when I'm on my period, I'm like, I'll just use what I have. I'm not going to go boil a cup. Mm-hmm. But that's a me problem.
Wait, does she mean it like the way that you would make a poached egg? Like you're making a little.
Yeah. Well, you basically like put the cup in the whisk. And the cup's being like sort of suspended in the whisk. And I think it's just so that you don't like burn it, or that you can kind of control it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really an interesting way to do it, because when I hear about boiling the cup, I'm like, okay, it's an extra step.
Yeah, that's fair. And do you have any funny stories or interesting stories about your period experiences?
Again, mine's pretty boring. Like, unlike you, I was like, I knew what it was because literally all my friends had already gotten it. So I was like, I just really wanted to get it because I felt like then I'd fit in. And so, I honestly remember specifically, I played ringette growing up, which is like a really weird, quirky Canadian sport, kind of like hockey. And so I was at a ringette practice, like I was most Wednesday nights, and I like was changing, and I just remember looking down and being like, yes. And then I remember my mom being like, here's a tampon, go into the bathroom and use the instructions to see how to do it. And I remember like seeing the woman's leg, like these crude drawings of like a woman's leg on the side. And I was like, oh my God. And I had it in and I come waddling out and she's like, can you feel it? I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, then you did it wrong. Try again. But yeah, other than that, I don't have any like, awesome, embarrassing stories. I did speak to Biff Naked, who's like an awesome Canadian artist. And she was saying that when she first got it, she was wearing these cute little shorts. And she's like, and you think it's going to be red blood. You think it's going to be this, like that first meme you showed. She's like, but it was brown. And everyone thought I crapped my pants. And she was just like, yeah, I crapped my pants. What of it? Like her response was just like so badass. But that's another, I think of that one often when I'm just like, way to own it. And also way to like debunk the myth that your period blood is going to be blood, or is going to be red, or is going to be a teal clear liquid.
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely like, we've had our team members write the blog posts about like how period blood color can be such a wide range, and also delve into why the ads have used this like blue mysterious liquid to depict menstrual blood for so long. So thank you for sharing all of your insights, all of the stories in the past little time that we've had together. It's been great. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
I mean, maybe just like a couple pluggy numbers. We're 4 years old. In that time, we've supplied almost 80,000 healthy periods. This year, our goal was 30,000 periods in just the year. We smashed that goal within the first 4 months. So kind of what I've been like talking about, like just the growth that we're seeing is really exciting. And I say that with one side of my mouth while the other side is saying that also tells us that the need is huge and that this is a huge problem. So while like it can be both things, while it is like exciting to see that, we're able to hit our targets, we're able to help more and more and more people, that also speaks to the systems in place that have made it this way. So that's kind of like the Period Purse in a nutshell. We also have locations all across Canada too. So if people are watching and they want to get involved or they want to know more, theperiodpurse.com will have all of that information of ways to get involved or ways to see if there are people in your community who are also doing the work.
That's awesome. Yeah, the stats that you just presented were staggering. So it's great to hear that there's been that support, but I agree with you that it means that the need is still needed to be met. And so with Ruth, our sustainable and disposable pads are launching through a crowdfunding campaign in the next coming days. And we're offering discounts to people who sign up on our VIP email list right now. And they can do that through our website at getruth.ca, or there's a link in our Instagram bio where our handle is also at getruth.ca. So follow along for more period memes and also product updates.